Christian nationalists want to turn America into a theocracy, a government under biblical rule. If things go their way this election, it could mean more power for them and fewer rights for you. I'm Heath Drusen, and on the new season of Extremely American, I'll take you inside the movement that seeks to rebuild the country in God's image. Listen to Extremely American from Boise State Public Radio, part of the NPR network.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. If you walked along the lower Boise River 25 years ago, past Caldwell and Middleton, you saw ugly chocolate brown water that was full of bacteria and phosphorus and dirt, and the water did not meet state or federal water standards. Well, since then, some dedicated people have been trying to clean up the river, one project at a time. In their December newsletter, the Idaho Soil and Water Conservation Commission highlighted how the projects are making a difference not just to water quality, but to water conservation and to crop yields for farmers. Here to tell us more are Stan Hay, a soil conservation technician for the Canyon Soil and Water Conservation District, who has been working directly with farmers and ranchers like Mike Chase, a local farmer at Chase Farms in Eagle, as well as Steve Stubner, conservation writer for the monthly newsletter. I want to welcome all of you to the show. And Steve, let me start with you. Take us back to the early 2000s. The lower Boise River, as I mentioned, it was full of phosphorus, bacteria, sediment, and we were not meeting federal water quality standards. So why was the river in such rough shape?
Yeah, so it was a really uphill battle for the folks that wanted to improve the water quality of the Boise River. And they had to put together some goals back then. And frankly, it looked like it might take as many as 70 years to hit some of the water quality targets, like for phosphorus. So anyway, Dan Steenson with Nampa Meridian Irrigation District, he's an attorney and great relationship with the legislature, has really gone after a lot of conservation funding and landed it for the benefit of the lower Boise River. And then Stan Hay and the Canyon Soil and Water Conservation District has teed up a whole number of producers to make improvements on their farms to benefit water quality, maybe converting from flood to sprinkler irrigation or other things. And so it's really turned out to be this amazing, well-oiled machine of everyone working together to make improvements. And then the cities are doing the same thing on a separate track with their wastewater plants. And they've accelerated the targets and the progress so far on water quality improvements.
So, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about your farm and what changes you've been making?
My grandpa bought our farm in 1925. My grandpa was very involved in soil conservation. He was one of the original supervisors of Dry Creek Soil Conservation Service back in 1948. And so we've always been kind of soil conservation conscious. And we had this field that it's got a pretty good slope on it, and it's gravity irrigated, and so there's a lot of runoff or potential runoff that could come into Dry Creek, about a quarter mile of Dry Creek. And so our goal was to keep 37 acres out of there was originally 40, but 37 now, keep it into agriculture, undeveloped property for the rest of my life, and my son feels the same way was his life. So that's our goal. It's something that we want to be able to show and keep a kind of a border or a conservation area right almost in the middle of Eagle. We're in the Ada County, but we're surrounded by Eagle. So that's kind of what we've done. And so with Stan's help, we designed a pivot irrigation system to convert to sprinklers. And that's an enormous amount of reduction in soil runoff into Dry Creek and then into the lower Boise River.
So, Mike, will this save you money by making this switch to this pivot irrigation?
The short answer is probably not a lot overall when you look at the value of the property if it was developed. But from a farming standpoint, it will save us some funds. We can reduce our chemical usage if we needed to use some. We can reduce the energy used to pump water and sprinkle to the ground. And we should be able to get higher production yields on the crops because we have a more consistent application of the water.
So, Steve, let me bring you back into the conversation. You wrote that there have been 60 conservation projects on the lower Boise River. How successful have they been?
Oh, gosh. I think all of them have been successful, and the improvements that they make not only improve the infrastructure on a farm or a ranch, but also have water quality benefits and water efficiency benefits in terms of using less water to raise the same crop. These projects are authentic and absolutely have lasting benefits. They're very well planned and by professionals, and the farmers know how to install them on the farm. It's just motherhood and apple pie.
So, Stan, how are farmers and ranchers feeling about these projects? I mean, are they enthusiastic to try them out?
Yes, I've had quite an experience over the last several years. I designed the sprinkler system, so I know kind of what I'm talking about when I talk to each individual producer. And I also run all the programs, so I know how much we're saving. And I also, at the same time, realize that it's progression towards, less workload on the farmer because they don't have to have as many employees by doing center pivots. There's all kinds of little things that help out. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a lot of increase in pricing since COVID on pipe and sprinkler packages. And so it's been a benefit to them to have, money come in from either Natural Resource Conservation Service, and then we help out because they're only going to supply 30 to 40%. And if we come in with another 25 or 30% to each individual, it really helps out and it makes more sense to them than to try to, finance the whole thing all at once in this day and age.
So, Mike, how have you felt about this program? Are you happy with how it's been going?
I'm really excited about the program. Stan allowed me to go on a tour a couple of years ago, and we looked at a lot of the different projects. And I see the enormous benefit it's having on the watershed of the Boise River. And for us, it was a real fortunate thing because we at one time had thought about selling our farm off because I'm not a young person anymore, and I wasn't willing to go out there and have to chase water gravity irrigation very easily. And my son came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can we keep this farm and keep it? We're almost 100 years into this." And so it was very exciting for us to partner with the Treasure Valley Lower Boise Watershed Council to complete this project. It was our goal to keep this as a buffer between the city and all the development around. And so people can drive by and they can see what does the farm really look like? What's a little bit of open space out there? And we can provide a corridor for wildlife. We have deer and other wild animals coming up and down Dry Creek there. So it's really, I'm excited about it. And I certainly would encourage anybody that has a inkling of maybe their project might be beneficial to increase water quality, reduce runoff of both sediment and as well as potential chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. So yeah, I'm really happy with it.
So before I let all of you go, Stan, how can farmers and ranchers get involved?
Well, they can reach out to either Natural Resource Conservation Service out of the Caldwell office or the state office, or they can reach out to myself with Canyon County Soil and Water Conservation District at 208-731-9930. And we can, look at each case individually.
Well, we've been speaking with Stan Hay, a soil conservation technician for the Canyon Soil and Water Conservation District, who's been working directly with farmers and ranchers like Mike Chase, a local farmer at Chase Farms in Eagle, as well as Steve Stubner, conservation writer with the Idaho Soil and Water Conservation Commission's monthly newsletter, talking about a long-term plan to help clean up the Boise River. We'll put a link to Steve's story on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho Voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.